Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. My name is Marnise Nicole and today is Artist Diary number 20. I'm showing you 3 pieces that I've been working on for the last 3 weeks. And the first piece is right in front of you. Now this is a piece that may be familiar because I'd shown it previously. It was a piece that I'd abandoned and had no intentions of going back to. I was actually planning on gessoing over this, reusing the canvas for some other idea, but that didn't happen. My twin sister, again, I talk about her a lot on this channel. She is one of my main critique partners, art enthusiasts, my biggest fan, and we're twins. We know each other, and she liked the piece before. I'll insert a picture here so you can see where I left off at. I was playing with different hair concepts. I was very obsessed with swirls, and I had started the piece in hopes of doing my first time lapse on this channel, Easter themed, you know, kind of centered around in pastel colors and spring is here and that sort of thing. But I gave up on it and I walked away from it, and again, I had no intentions of coming back to the piece. I just kind of didn't like the direction it was going. I didn't have a clear vision on how it was going to turn out. I just kind of knew I had fun doing the swirls, and I was like, but what else is there to this piece? It was something I'd worked on for 2 or 3 weeks, on and off, you know, between my regular job, because I do have a full-time job, but it was something I had worked on then, and I'd restarted it 1,000 times. It felt like I didn't like this, I didn't like that, repaint over it. The good thing about acrylic paint is that you have that option. I guess with oil paint or any paint, you have the option of kind of wiping the slate clean. And so I'd finally gotten a piece where to the point you see here, and I really like the hair, and I kind of like the hat, and I was kind of like, I don't have any feelings toward this piece. This is not giving me what I need to continue with it. There's not some spark for this piece. There was no plan for it. It was just something I started. I picked the colors and I was like, ooh, what am I going to do with this? And a lot of times my method can be counterproductive because I don't have an idea for the piece, but I'm working on it and I'm spending time on it, and luckily I have other methods now that I use interchangeably with this kind of just go at it and see what happens method. But at that time, this was the method I'd used, and I did not know what I was going to do with this piece, so walked away from it. It was done. It was over. But my sister, my twin, she loved it. And she was so upset that I didn't finish it. So for all of March, she nagged and nagged and nagged me to complete the piece. And then all of April, she nagged and nagged and nagged at me to complete the piece. She was like, just add a face. Just add a nose, 2 eyes, and a mouth, and I will take it as is. You don't ever have to work on it again. But my sister knows me, and she knows that once I get started on something, I just can't not do anything on it. And so finally I gave in, as she knew I was going to do, and I started adding a face. And I specifically asked her, I was like, if I'm going to add a face, what kind of face do you want? Because I've been trying to work on facial expressions. I've been trying to get better with my details, and just I've been working on my portraiture project in my sketchbook. You all know by now if you've watched the videos, but I was working on it. I was like, so you know what, let's make this a challenge. I'll use this like I use my sketchbook to practice on different expressions. And she was like, I want sassy, I want shocking, I want surprise, give me something like that, like give me big eyes and oh my god face. And I was like, okay. She got me, and she kind of tricked me into starting this piece, and then I can put the brush down. I kind of had a face in mind. I had a reference now, kind of shocked face. So I was like, okay, shock face. And I kind of really wanted to build more on her hair, make it more oomph. And so I was like, okay, we're going to give her like very natural curly hair, and One thing led to another, and then this is the final piece. She's named it for me, but I honestly can't recall the name right now. I will link it down below or add it on the page somewhere. But she's taking it as soon as I'm done with this video, and I'm really glad she pushed me to finish this piece. Number one, I have this whole new like idea of hair pieces to start, all to do with the swirls and just this kind of work that I've done. And also just because I have a tendency to walk away from pieces that I'm not happy with or are not giving me that spark, but I never end up going back to those pieces, and that's a habit I've wanted to break. I'm very glad I came back to this piece. I love how it came out. My sister's really happy too, so it's very good to have someone who's encouraging, who knows what you can do if you just push yourself. And I pushed myself, and this is the piece that came out. I'll do a close-up for you so you can see the hair is several layers of swirls, and lots of bold outlining. I gave a very detailed eye this time. I tend to not do very detailed eyes and faces, and that was mostly because of my lack of knowledge on anatomy, as well as just a preference for a certain style that I've been developing. I kind of like the eyes I did before, but this was something out of my comfort zone, and very more realistic than I tend to do, and I just have fun with it, so I'm really glad I did that. I also worked a lot on shading, and so the whole piece as a whole came together. I've been playing with my skin tones. I love to add some abstract textures into them. Add some colors that you wouldn't necessarily think, oh, that goes in skin, because I've added purple highlights, there's green in her undertone, there's lots of pink, and that's fun. And I love that it gives a very painterly effect. And so there's the first piece. Now the second piece is a favorite of mine. I took some of the fun concepts I've been working with, the fun color palettes, and made this very iridescent, very floaty, cloudy type of piece. This is a size 12 by 16. This is acrylic on canvas, and this is Cloud 9. That's what I named it, and she is supposed to be floating out of the clouds. And I use a very similar color palette that I've been sticking with. I've been loving this palette, and I've been trying to work it into a lot of my pieces. And a fun fact about me is that I don't have one favorite color. I, from a small child, loved colors so much. I would go around and saying, oh, what's your favorite color? Oh, this week it's yellow, or today it's orange. I'm feeling like I'm orange today, and that's always how I've been since a little kid. Right now, the permanent blue and the vivid green and the brilliant purple, those are the colors that are speaking to me, and I want them everywhere. Like, I'm going through this phase where I just love them, and I love how they affect, and they're very spring colors, and it's just my mood. This is just how I am right now, and this piece is definitely something that's been floating in my imagination for a while. I was very into just these very abstracted pieces where the colors are not atypical or not standard. They generally don't look like a real skin tone. This is purple and green and pink highlights and shades, and you know this is not a realistic female, and yet it feels so real to me. It feels like she's just there. She's just floating and mystical and just everything. I love this piece. I was feeling like bubbles, and I've been already working on this piece for a little while, and I was like, she needs something else. There's something else, because she's on the clouds. She's coming through the clouds, like she's pushing through the clouds, and yet something else needed to be there. There's always a little something extra I want to do, and very much in the theme of my Plus Love series, this piece has that something extra. It has that additional just moxie. And I'm really into geometric shapes right now, and I've moved on to circles. There was a nice progression there with my Plus Love piece. having the more rectangles and, you know, the straight lines and that sort of thing just prominently throughout the piece. And then my plus attitude piece with the dots and the circles and the X's. I kind of like these non-typical elements to be in my pieces, and I really like that. And right now I'm really into geometric shapes and having them placed in unexpected ways, being a part of the hair, being a part of the dress and the female. And I didn't want to overpower the piece with too many circles, so I meditated a lot on the placement of each circle, and then I added on top some faint stars and called it a day. Hey guys, I've moved a bit closer and so you could see this final piece that I'm sharing with you today. This is a 10 by 10 acrylic on canvas painting. It is done with a palette knife, and it's been so long since I've done a palette knife. It's been, I want to say it was 5 or 6 months since I picked up my palette knife. I got distracted, and it's one of my favorite tools. I love the palette knife. This piece is just fun and colorful, and majority of it is done clearly with a palette knife, and I love this piece. This piece was so needed. I was in another rut, and I didn't want to do another big piece, another brush piece. I didn't want to do it. I was like, well, what can I do? I don't want to paint right now. I really don't. And I don't want to sketch, and I don't want to do anything. And I was like, you know what? I haven't used my palette knife, and I have a very, very nice set of palette knives from Creative Marks, and I barely use any of them. I usually use just the diamond, and I was like, you know what? I want to play around with the palette knives today, see what happened. And this was actually one of the pieces that I had tried and failed to paint while I was sick. I was still attempting to try to paint and was sick, and it wasn't happening. And so this is a piece that I wiped. It's just very vibrant. It speaks of summer. She looks like she's having a good time, and just I love this piece, and it was so much fun. And I did do some highlighting with some iridescent copper along the shirt to just detail that out. And I went for a very bold color palette on a black gesso background because I wanted the colors to stand out. I really do love my palette knife pieces. If you see, standing out is another piece I did with a black gessoed canvas, as well as a very colorful and bold background, as well as listening. That is also one of my favorite palette knife pieces, and it's just a background, palette knife, everything. You can see that I stick kind of to a similar plan and phasing for all of my palette knife pieces, and this will fit right alongside them. So fun. I love the energy of the piece, and the colors really give it an energy, and that's why I love color so much. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. This has been Artist Diary number 20. I am going to be coming very shortly to my YouTube anniversary, so I'm very excited. So expect some kind of Q&A, meet the artist type of situation coming up very soon. And thank you so much for watching. You have a good one. Bye-bye.